They called her country girl and hick. Her own squad mocked her accent, sabotaged her gear, and made her eat alone. Private Jasmine Foster from Pine Ridge, Tennessee, seemed like easy prey at Fort Benning's brutal Army training camp. While her urban squad mates laughed at her rural ways, they had no idea what real strength looked like. They thought being from the country meant being weak. They were about to learn the difference between city noise and country steel. Because sometimes, the quietest soldier carries the deepest courage. This is the story of how one general's salute changed everything. The bus doors hissed open at Fort Benning, Georgia. Jasmine Foster stepped down onto the concrete, her worn duffel bag slung over one shoulder. The August heat hit her like a wall, but she'd felt worse summers back home in Tennessee. She looked around at the other recruits gathering their gear. "Man, look at this place," said a tall guy with a Chicago accent. "This is gonna be easy compared to the streets." Jasmine pulled her bag higher and walked toward the formation area. Her boots made soft sounds on the pavement. Around her, voices mixed together, accents from everywhere. New York. Los Angeles. Detroit. Big city voices, loud and fast. Foster. Jasmine Foster. A drill sergeant's voice cut through the noise. "Here, Sergeant." She stepped forward. "Squad 7. Move it." Jasmine found her squad standing in a loose group. For other girls, all about her age, but they looked different. Their hair was styled even after the bus ride. Their clothes fit better. They carried themselves like they owned the place. "So you're the last one," said a girl with Detroit in her voice. "I'm Aaliyah." "Jasmine." She set her bag down. "Nice to meet y'all." The word y'all hung in the air. Aaliyah looked at the others. A small smile played at her lips. "Y'all," said a girl with perfectly shaped eyebrows. "That's cute." "I'm Tiffany, from Queens." "Marcus," said the Chicago guy, joining their circle. "And that's Devin." He pointed to a girl checking her phone. "Phone's about to be gone," Devin said without looking up. "Might as well use it while I can." Jasmine nodded. She'd already said goodbye to her phone back home. Her grandmother always said goodbyes should be clean breaks. "So where you from?" Aaliyah asked. "Let me guess, somewhere with more cows than people?" "Pine Ridge, Tennessee." Jasmine kept her voice steady. "Small town." "How small?" Tiffany leaned in like she was asking about some strange animal. "About 800 people." Marcus laughed. 800? That's like one city block where I'm from. "Must be nice," Devin said, finally looking up from her phone. "Quiet." "Boring." "It's peaceful," Jasmine said. "Good place to grow up." "Yeah, well, this ain't growing up," Aaliyah said. "This is the real world now." A whistle blew. Drill Sergeant Martinez appeared in front of them like he'd materialized from thin air. "Listen up. You are now property of the United States Army. Your comfortable little lives are over. You will eat when I say eat. Sleep when I say sleep. And you will learn to follow orders without question." He walked down the line, stopping in front of each recruit. When he reached Jasmine, he looked her up and down. "Foster. You look like you've never seen anything harder than farm work." "I've worked hard, Sergeant." "Farm work?" He said it like it was two curse words. "Well, Foster, this isn't about milking cows. This is about making soldiers. Think you can handle that?" "Yes, Sergeant." He moved on. Jasmine felt the others watching her. She kept her eyes forward. "Chow time." Martinez yelled. "Move it." The squad walked toward the mess hall. Jasmine fell in step with them, but she noticed they stayed a little ahead of her. Their conversation flowed around her but didn't include her. "My dad said boot camp would be psychological," Tiffany was saying. "Mind games." "Yeah, well, my brother made it through," Marcus said. "Said the trick is not to let them break you." "What about you?" Devin asked, turning to Jasmine. Anyone in your family serve? My grandfather. World War II. That's like ancient history, Aaliyah said. They reached the mess hall doors. Inside, hundreds of recruits sat at long tables, eating and talking. The noise was overwhelming. Jasmine had never seen so many people in one place. She got her tray and followed the others to a table. As she sat down, she quietly bowed her head for a moment of thanks. When she looked up, all four of them were staring at her. Did you just? Tiffany started. Say grace? Marcus finished. What's next, gonna milk a cow? They all laughed. Not mean laughter, but not kind either. The kind that made Jasmine's cheeks warm. She picked up her fork and started eating. The food was different than home. Everything was different than home. But she was here now. And she meant to stay. The alarm screamed at 4:30 in the morning. Jasmine's eyes snapped open. She was already reaching for her boots when she heard the groaning from the other bunks. This is insane, Tiffany mumbled, her hair sticking up in all directions. My body is not made for this, Devin said, rolling over. Jasmine laced her boots and started making her bunk. Hospital corners, tight enough to bounce a quarter. Her grandmother had taught her that. Always start the day right. Look at country girl, Aaliyah said, watching Jasmine work. Already playing soldier. Probably been getting up before dawn her whole life, Marcus said, stumbling past. Milking cows and feeding chickens. Y'all ready for PT? Jasmine asked, trying to sound friendly. Y'all, Devin repeated in an exaggerated drawl. Y'all ready for some good old-fashioned country living? The others laughed. Jasmine kept making her bunk. Outside, the Georgia heat was already building. Drill Sergeant Martinez stood waiting, looking like he'd been awake for hours. Physical training, he shouted. Let's see what you're made of. The run started easy. Jasmine had been running mountain trails since she was 12. Her breathing stayed steady while the others started puffing after the first mile. How is she not dying? Tiffany gasped, pointing at Jasmine. Country strong, Marcus said between breaths. All that farm work. But when they reached the obstacle course, everything changed. The climbing wall had electronic sensors. The balance beam required precise timing. The rope swing needed technique, not just strength. Jasmine stared at the blinking lights and digital displays. Back home, obstacles were trees and rocks. Things that made sense. Foster. Martinez yelled. Move it. She grabbed the first handholds and started climbing. Halfway up, a sensor beeped. Red lights flashed. She was doing something wrong, but she didn't know what. Use the pressure plates, Devin called up. Step on the yellow ones. Jasmine looked down. Devin was pointing at colored squares she hadn't noticed. She shifted her weight, and the lights turned green. Thanks, she called down. Don't mention it, Devin said, but she was smiling. Later, during equipment training, Jasmine struggled with the radio system. The buttons were small and confusing. The display showed numbers that didn't mean anything to her. It's just like a cell phone, Aaliyah said, watching her fumble with the controls. I didn't really use one much back home, Jasmine admitted. Wait, what? Tiffany turned around. You didn't have a phone? We had one. For the house. But not a cell phone. The four of them stared at her like she'd said she lived in a cave. How did you text people? Devin asked. I didn't. I just talked to them. In person? Marcus said. Like, face to face? Yeah. Or on the phone. They exchanged looks. The kind of looks that said everything without words. At lunch, Jasmine sat with them, but the conversation flowed around her. They talked about shows she'd never seen, places she'd never been, things she'd never done. Remember that club on 5th Street? Aaliyah was saying to Tiffany. The one with the crazy lights? Girl, yes. I miss those lights, Devin said. Everything here is so plain. Y'all ever been camping? Jasmine asked during a quiet moment. Like, in a tent? Marcus asked. Yeah. Under the stars. Why would I want to sleep outside? Tiffany said. That's what hotels are for. It's peaceful. You can hear everything. Animals, wind in the trees. Sounds scary, Aaliyah said. It's not scary. It's beautiful. They looked at her like she was speaking a foreign language. That evening, during free time, Jasmine sat on her bunk writing a letter to her grandmother. Real paper, real pen. The old way. Who still writes letters? Devin asked, leaning over. My grandmother likes them better than emails. Does she even have email? She has a computer. But she says handwriting shows you care enough to take time. That's actually kind of sweet, Tiffany said. Sweet but weird, Marcus added. Jasmine folded the letter and put it in an envelope. Around her, the others were on their phones, talking to people back home through tiny screens. Their voices mixed together, creating a wall of city noise. She lay back on her bunk and looked at the ceiling. Tomorrow would be another day of trying to fit in. Another day of being the outsider. But her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind, Sugar, you don't have to change who you are to become who you're meant to be. Jasmine closed her eyes and tried to believe it. The third week started with rain. Jasmine woke to find her boots missing from under her bunk. She looked around the barracks. The others were getting dressed, acting normal. Has anyone seen my boots? She asked. Your boots? Aaliyah said, not looking up. Maybe you left them somewhere. I put them right here. Maybe you forgot, Devin said. Country memory isn't what it used to be. Marcus snorted. Tiffany covered her mouth, but Jasmine could see she was smiling. Jasmine found her boots in the shower room, soaking wet. She put them on anyway. The water squelched with each step. During morning formation, Drill Sergeant Martinez walked the line. When he reached Jasmine, he stopped. Foster, why are your boots wet? I don't know, Sergeant. You don't know? Did you walk through a puddle? No, Sergeant. Then explain the water, Foster. Jasmine could feel the squad watching her. She could tell Martinez the truth, but that would make everything worse. I must have stepped in something, Sergeant. Must have. Drop and give me 20. She hit the ground and started counting. Her wet boots slipped on the concrete. Behind her, she heard whispering. Clumsy country girl, someone said quietly. The next day, her bunk failed inspection. The sheets were wrinkled, the corners loose. But Jasmine had made it perfectly. She'd been making beds this way since she was 8. Foster. Martinez yelled. What is this mess? I don't understand, Sergeant. I made it right. Right? This looks like a tornado hit it. Everyone else passes except you. Explain that. Jasmine looked at her bunk, then at the others. Their beds were perfect. Too perfect. Like someone had fixed them after inspection started. I don't know, Sergeant. 20 push-ups. And remake this bed. As she dropped down, she caught Marcus's eye. He was trying not to smile. The harassment got worse. Her gear would disappear, then show up in strange places. Her locker would be messed up before inspections. During drill, someone would step on her heels, making her stumble. Watch where you're going, hick, Devin would say loudly. Sorry, Jasmine would answer, even though it wasn't her fault. The worst part was trying to help. When Aaliyah struggled with map reading, Jasmine offered to show her the landmarks. I don't need help from some backwoods nobody, Aaliyah snapped. Mind your own business. When Tiffany got lost during a night exercise, Jasmine tried to guide her back to the group. Get away from me, Tiffany said. I'm not taking directions from someone who probably can't even read a real map. I can read maps just fine, Jasmine said quietly. Yeah, right. Probably never seen anything bigger than a county road. The squad started eating without her. They'd sit at one table while she sat alone at another. Their laughter would carry across the mess hall, and Jasmine would wonder if they were laughing about her. Other recruits noticed. They started avoiding her too. Being around the squad's target made you a target. During free time, Jasmine would sit on her bunk while the others gathered around Devon's contraband phone, watching videos and sharing stories. Their voices created a wall of sound that kept her out. Remember that party at Jessica's place? Tiffany was saying. The one where Marcus tried to dance. Aaliyah laughed. I can dance, Marcus protested. You can try to dance, Devon said. There's a difference. They all laughed. Easy, comfortable laughter. The kind that comes from knowing you belong. Jasmine pulled out paper and started another letter to her grandmother. But the words wouldn't come. How could she explain that she felt more alone surrounded by people than she ever had in the mountains? She put the pen down and stared at the blank page. Around her, the conversation continued. Stories about home, about friends, about a world she'd never been part of. A world that felt further away every day. You okay over there? Tiffany called out. Not because she cared, but because the silence was noticeable. I'm fine, Jasmine said. But she wasn't fine. For the first time since arriving, she wondered if she'd made a mistake. Maybe she really didn't belong here. Maybe they were right about her after all. The letter sat on Jasmine's bunk for 3 days. She'd written it during the worst night yet, when she'd found her uniform torn and her personal photos scattered across the floor. Dear Nana, it started. I think I made a mistake coming here. Maybe I should come home. She hadn't sent it. Couldn't send it. But she hadn't thrown it away either. The squad had found it that morning while she was in the shower. When she came back, they were sitting in a circle on Marcus's bunk, reading it out loud. Dear Nana, Tiffany said in a fake country accent. I think I made a mistake coming here. Maybe I should come home, Aaliyah continued, making her voice high and whiny. The other girls are so mean to me, Devon added, even though Jasmine hadn't written that. I miss my cow, Marcus finished, and they all burst out laughing. Jasmine stood in the doorway, water still dripping from her hair. The letter was in Tiffany's hands, creased from being passed around. That's private, Jasmine said. Private? Tiffany waved the letter. Honey, nothing's private in the army. Especially not letters to Nana about running home. Give it back. What's the magic word? Devon asked. Please. Please what? Please give me my letter back. Tiffany held it just out of reach. Say please in country talk. Come on, give us the full hillbilly experience. Jasmine lunged for the letter. Tiffany jerked it away, and it tore in half. Oops, Tiffany said, not sounding sorry at all. Jasmine picked up the pieces. The paper was soft from being handled, the ink smeared. 3 days of doubt and loneliness, ripped apart for their entertainment. Don't cry, Aaliyah said. It's just paper. But Jasmine wasn't crying. She was remembering. That night, she sat on her bunk holding the torn letter. Around her, the others were asleep. The barracks was quiet except for the sound of breathing and the occasional snore. She thought about her grandfather. He'd died when she was 15, but she still remembered his stories. Not the war stories everyone wanted to hear, but the quiet ones. About being scared. About wanting to quit. About the men who didn't make it home. Fear's just a feeling, he used to say. Courage is what you do with that feeling. She looked at the letter again. All her doubts written out in black ink. Her grandfather had never written a letter like this. He'd stayed. He'd fought. He'd done his duty. She got up and walked to the bathroom. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the white tiles. She looked at herself in the mirror. Same face. Same eyes. But something had changed. She tore the letter into smaller pieces and dropped them in the trash. The next morning, she woke before the alarm. Her bunk was perfect. Her boots were dry and polished. When formation started, she stood straighter than she had in weeks. "Looking good, Foster," Drill Sergeant Martinez said, walking past. "Thank you, Sergeant." During PT, she ran harder than before. When the squad made their usual comments, she didn't react. When they sabotaged her gear, she fixed it without complaint. "What's wrong with her?" she heard Devin whisper to Aaliyah. "Maybe she's finally losing it," Aaliyah whispered back. But Jasmine wasn't losing anything. She was finding something. Something that had been there all along, buried under weeks of trying to fit in. She was finding herself. At lunch, she sat alone as usual. But this time, she didn't watch their table. She didn't strain to hear their conversation. She ate her food and planned her afternoon. There was a field exercise coming up. Navigation and survival skills. The kind of training that would separate the city kids from the country kids. For the first time since arriving at Fort Benning, Jasmine smiled. They thought they knew her. They thought they understood what she was made of. They were about to find out how wrong they were. Lieutenant Colonel David Park stood at the front of the assembly hall, his uniform crisp despite the Georgia heat. Behind him, a large map showed miles of wilderness terrain. "Tomorrow's exercise will test everything you've learned," he announced. Navigation, teamwork, survival skills. Each squad has 8 hours to reach the designated checkpoint and complete the mission. Jasmine studied the map. Rolling hills, dense forest, 2 creek crossings. She'd grown up in country like this. "I will personally observe select squads," Colonel Park continued. "This exercise counts toward your final evaluation." The squad gathered around a table afterward, looking at their copy of the map. Marcus spread it out, confident as always. "Easy," he said. "Straight line from here to here. Maybe 6 miles. 6 miles through forest," Devin said. "That's different than 6 miles on concrete." "How hard can it be?" Aaliyah asked. "It's just walking." Jasmine looked at the contour lines, the elevation markers, the symbols for difficult terrain. She saw problems they weren't seeing. "There's a steep ravine here," she said, pointing to a cluster of tight lines. "And this creek might be deeper than it looks." "It's fine," Marcus said. "We've got GPS." "What if the GPS fails?" "It won't fail," Tiffany said. "It's military grade." "But what if it does?" They all looked at her like she was being ridiculous. "Country girls worried about getting lost," Devin said. "How cute." "I'm not worried about getting lost," Jasmine said quietly. "I'm worried about you getting lost." Marcus laughed. "We're from the city. We know how to read street signs and follow directions. This is just bigger streets." That night, while the others talked about tomorrow like it was a field trip, Jasmine studied the map. She traced the routes with her finger, noting landmarks and backup paths. She checked the weather forecast. Rain was coming. She also noticed something else. The checkpoint wasn't where Marcus thought it was. He'd misread the grid coordinates. "Hey," she said, walking over to their group. "I think there's a mistake on the route." "What kind of mistake?" Aaliyah asked. "The checkpoint coordinates. They're not where Marcus marked them." Marcus looked at the map, then at his notes. "I wrote down exactly what they said." "Look at the grid lines," Jasmine said. "The numbers don't match." "You're wrong," Marcus said. "I checked twice. But if you look here." "I said you're wrong." His voice was sharp. "Just because you're from the woods doesn't mean you know everything." Jasmine stepped back. "I'm just trying to help." "We don't need help from someone who's never seen a real city," Devin said. "Yeah," Tiffany added. "Stick to what you know. Cows and chickens." The next morning came gray and wet. Rain fell steadily as the squads prepared to move out. Jasmine put on her rain gear and checked her compass. The others complained about the weather. "This is miserable," Aaliyah said, pulling her hood up. "It's just water," Jasmine said. "Easy for you to say. You're probably used to being wet and dirty." Colonel Park appeared beside their squad. "Ready, soldiers?" "Yes, sir," they said together. "Remember, this is about teamwork and leadership. Help each other. Watch each other's backs." The exercise began at dawn. Marcus led them confidently into the forest, following his GPS and his notes. For the first hour, everything seemed fine. Then the GPS signal started cutting out. "It's the trees," Marcus said, holding the device up toward the sky. "Too much coverage." "I told you this might happen," Jasmine said. "It's fine. It'll come back." But it didn't come back. The deeper they went into the forest, the weaker the signal became. By the second hour, they were navigating by compass and Marcus's notes. "This way," he said, pointing left at a fork in the trail. "That's northwest," Jasmine said, checking her compass. "We need to go northeast." "I know where we're going," Marcus said. "But the compass says." "The compass is wrong. GPS doesn't lie." They followed Marcus left. The terrain got rougher. The trees got thicker. The rain got heavier. After another hour, they reached a steep cliff face. No way forward. No trail. Just rock and empty air. "This isn't right," Devin said. "Where are we?" Tiffany asked. Marcus stared at his GPS. No signal. No directions. No answers. "We're lost," Aaliyah said. "We're not lost," Marcus said. "We're just taking a different route." "A different route to where?" Devin's voice was rising. "We don't even know where we are." They started arguing. Voices getting louder. Blame flying in every direction. The rain kept falling. Jasmine stepped away from the group and looked around. She saw broken branches pointing the way they'd come. She saw moss growing on the north side of trees. She saw animal tracks leading to water. "I can get us back on track," she said quietly. "What?" Marcus turned around. "I can get us to the checkpoint. But we need to backtrack first." "Backtrack?" "We've been walking for 3 hours." 3 hours in the wrong direction," Jasmine said. "That's why we're lost." "We're not lost," Marcus shouted. "And we're not following you." "Then what's your plan?" she asked. Marcus looked at his GPS again. Still no signal. He looked at the cliff. Still no way forward. "Fine," he said. "But if you get us more lost, it's your fault." "If I get us more lost," Jasmine said, "then we're already in trouble." She pulled out her compass and started walking. Back the way they'd come. Back to where they'd made the wrong turn. Behind her, she heard them following. Complaining with every step. But following. Jasmine led them through the wet forest, her boots finding solid ground where others would slip. She moved quietly, reading the land like a book written in her native language. "This is taking forever," Devin complained behind her. "We should have stayed on the main trail," Aaliyah said. "The main trail was wrong," Jasmine said without turning around. "Look at those blazes on the trees. They're marking the real path." "What blazes?" Marcus asked. Jasmine stopped and pointed to a small yellow mark on an oak tree. "Trail markers. They're painted every 50 yards or so." "I don't see any pattern," Tiffany said. "That's because you're not looking for them." She kept walking. The rain had stopped, but water still dripped from the leaves above. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind, "The forest talks to those who know how to listen." "There," she said, pointing ahead. The creek crossing. They reached the stream. It was wider than expected, the water brown and fast from the rain. A fallen log stretched across, slick with moss. "We can't cross that," Devin said. "It's too dangerous." There's got to be a bridge somewhere, Marcus said. Jasmine studied the water. She saw rocks beneath the surface. A shallow spot upstream where the water moved slower. Follow me, she said. Step where I step. She waded into the creek. The water was cold but not deep. She found the rocks with her feet, testing each one before putting her full weight down. This is crazy, Tiffany said from the bank. It's fine, Jasmine called back. The water's only knee-deep. One by one, they followed her across. Marcus slipped once, grabbing Jasmine's arm to steady himself. She pulled him upright without comment. On the other side, they climbed a ridge. At the top, Jasmine checked her compass and looked at the sun breaking through the clouds. That way, she said, pointing southeast. Maybe 2 miles. How can you tell? Aaliyah asked. The sun's position. The slope of the land. And look there. She pointed to a distant hill with a radio tower on top. That's our landmark. They walked faster now, confidence building. The terrain opened up, making travel easier. Jasmine navigated around obstacles, found game trails that led the right direction, and kept them moving steadily forward. You're actually good at this, Devin said quietly. I grew up in country like this, Jasmine replied. Why didn't you tell us you knew all this stuff? You never asked. They reached the checkpoint with an hour to spare. A small clearing with a concrete marker and a sign-in sheet. Other squads were already there, looking tired and frustrated. Squad 7 reporting, Marcus said to the sergeant monitoring the checkpoint. Time? 7 hours, 15 minutes. Good time. Sign in and wait for extraction. As they signed the sheet, Jasmine noticed something. They were the second squad to arrive. Out of 12 squads, only one had made it there faster. Not bad, the sergeant said. Most squads took the long way around. You guys took the direct route through the forest. Smart navigation. Marcus started to speak, but Jasmine was already walking away. She sat on a fallen log and pulled out her water bottle. Hey, Tiffany said, sitting beside her. Thanks for getting us here. We're a squad, Jasmine said. That's what squads do. Yeah, but you could have let us stay lost. After everything we did to you. Jasmine looked at her. That's not who I am. An hour later, trucks arrived to take them back to base. The ride was quiet. Everyone was tired, but there was something else in the air. A tension that hadn't been there before. Back at the barracks, they cleaned their gear and prepared for evening formation. The word was that Colonel Park would address the company about the exercise. Wonder what he'll say, Marcus said. Probably congratulate everyone for not dying, Devin said. He was watching some of the squads, Aaliyah said. Wonder if he saw us. Jasmine didn't say anything. She cleaned her rifle and checked her uniform. Whatever happened next, she'd done her job. At formation, Colonel Park stood before the entire company. 200 recruits in perfect lines, waiting to hear about their performance. Today's exercise revealed a lot, he began. About leadership. About teamwork. About character. He paused, looking out over the formation. Most squads took 8 hours or more to complete the mission. Many got lost. Some never found the checkpoint at all. But a few squads demonstrated something special. Jasmine felt her stomach tighten. I personally observed several squads during the exercise. I watched leaders emerge. I watched soldiers help each other. And I watched one soldier in particular display exceptional skill, courage, and integrity. He stepped forward. I watched a soldier navigate difficult terrain using skills most of you don't possess. I watched that same soldier lead her squad to safety when their technology failed. Most importantly, I watched her do it without complaint, without recognition, and without expectation of reward. The formation was completely silent. Private Foster, step forward. Jasmine's heart hammered against her ribs. She stepped out of line and marched to the front of the formation. At ease, soldier. She relaxed her posture but kept her eyes forward. Private Foster, I watched your squad mock you for weeks. I watched them exclude you, sabotage your efforts, and treat you with disrespect. I watched you endure it with dignity. Jasmine could feel 200 pairs of eyes on her. Today, when your squad was lost and panicking, you had a choice. You could have let them fail. You could have walked away. Instead, you stepped up and led them home. That's what real soldiers do. He turned to address the entire formation. Leadership isn't about being the loudest voice or the most popular person. It's about doing what's right when it's hard to do. It's about serving others even when they don't deserve it. It's about character. He turned back to Jasmine. Private Foster, you have demonstrated exceptional leadership, navigation skills, and moral courage. You will be promoted to Private First Class, effective immediately. You will also be assigned to advanced leadership training. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small medal. This is the Army Achievement Medal. It's awarded for exceptional service and dedication. You've earned it. He pinned the medal to her uniform, then stepped back. Company, attention. 200 soldiers snapped to attention. It is an honor to serve with soldiers like Private Foster. She represents the best of what we are and what we can become. Colonel Park turned to face Jasmine directly. His hand came up in a perfect salute. Private Foster, it has been an honor to observe your service. Jasmine returned the salute, her hand steady despite the emotion building in her chest. Thank you, sir. Dismissed. The formation broke up, but Jasmine stood frozen for a moment. The medal felt heavy on her chest. Around her, soldiers were talking, but the voices seemed far away. Jasmine. She turned. Marcus stood behind her, his face serious. I owe you an apology, he said. We all do. You don't owe me anything, she said. Yeah, I do. We treated you like garbage. We judged you before we knew you. And when we needed help, you still helped us. Tiffany stepped forward. I'm sorry too. I was mean to you because I was scared. Scared I wouldn't be good enough. But you were better than all of us, and you never made us feel bad about it. I'm sorry, Devin said. I called you names. I made fun of your home. I was wrong. We all were, Aaliyah said. Can you forgive us? Jasmine looked at each of them. She saw something different in their faces now. Respect. Regret. Maybe even friendship. We're soldiers now, she said. We leave the past behind and move forward together. Marcus held out his hand. Partners? She shook it. Partners. That night, for the first time since arriving at Fort Benning, Jasmine sat with her squad in the mess hall. The conversation was different now. They asked about her home, her family, her skills. They listened when she talked. So you really learned all that from your grandfather? Tiffany asked. He taught me to read the land, Jasmine said. Said it was like reading a book written in a different language. That's actually pretty cool, Devin said. I wish I had skills like that, Aaliyah said. All I know is city stuff. City skills are important too, Jasmine said. We all bring something different to the team. Later, as they prepared for bed, Marcus approached her again. I have to ask, he said. Why did you help us today? After everything we did to you? Jasmine thought about it. Because that's what my grandfather would have done. He always said the measure of a person isn't how they treat their friends. It's how they treat people who've wronged them. He sounds like a good man. He was. He'd have been proud today. He should be proud, Marcus said. You earned that medal. That night, Jasmine lay in her bunk looking at the ceiling. The medal was in her footlocker, but she could still feel its weight. More than that, she could feel the change in the room around her. The wall of silence was gone. The isolation was over. She thought about her letter to her grandmother. The one she'd write tomorrow. This one would be different. This one would be about staying. About belonging. About finding her place in the world. Some people, she realized, mistake quiet strength for weakness. They think being from the country means being simple. They think being different means being less. They're always surprised when the underdog rises. But Jasmine wasn't surprised. She'd been ready all along. She just needed the right moment to show them who she really was.